What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is NCIS Season 14, Episode 2, Being Bad. I don't know why I said it like that. I gotta say, Tuesday nights are a lot of fun now because TV shows are back, so, it's always great to... But at the same time, there are a lot of TV shows on Tuesday night, and NCIS is the first of three that I have to watch, so I have to come back to it and try to remember everything. And the thing about NCIS is, it's such an enjoyable show, but it's not one that sticks with the memory. And it was only 3 hours ago, so I can still remember it. It's just, it's not as memorable as some other shows. Like watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm gonna remember tonight's episode for the next few days because it's a running storyline. It's got a lot of interesting stuff in it. NCIS, it's a case-by-case show, and it works well for that. And I think that's kind of how I feel about tonight's episode, is that it's a good NCIS episode. So if you love NCIS, you'll probably tune in, watch this episode, and be like, yeah, this was good, I enjoyed it. But if you're somebody who doesn't like NCIS, I have a feeling you wouldn't really like this episode, because it felt like a lot of the jokes were very NCIS based. A lot of the case itself felt like a normal NCIS case. It felt very... I don't know how else to describe it other than it felt very NCIS tonight. Just all of it. The case was... It was good. The twist at the end was good. The humor in it was good. It was all stuff that I enjoy and I expect out of NCIS. It wasn't anything new. It wasn't anything different, but at the same time, it does. It's good in that I expect to see this. I want to see this out of NCIS. I want to see the good humor, the good case. I want to see all of that. But at the same time, we're being introduced to two new characters, kind of. Like we got introduced to Quinn and I'll get his name in a second. We got introduced to them in the first episode of this season. So it's not like this was an introduction for them, but it was an introduction into them for the team. Like how are they going to work in the team? This is the first case where we get to see them working, and none of it felt new. And even though I enjoy it, even though I'm like, yeah, NCIS is awesome, I love this show, that case was good, it was everything I expected out of NCIS, at the same time, my mind is thinking, but I should feel something different now. Tony's gone. We've got two new characters on the team now. I should feel something different. I should feel like this has been a turnaround for the show. I should feel like things are, this new injection of fresh blood into the show should bring something different, and yet it feels the same. And while that can be a good thing, because I think a lot of people were expecting the show to just drop off after Tony left, I'm not going to lie, after I found out last season was his last season, I was kind of like, the show's not going to be the same without Tony. And yet it is. So on the one hand, that's good, but yet on the other hand, I should be seeing different stuff. I should be seeing new types of jokes. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to look it up now, because I should be better with names. I apologize for not being better with names, but that's what the internet is for. Nick Torres. I'm going to call him Torres. Torres, he's making jokes that Tony would make. Later on in the episode, McGee and Bishop are both asking Quinn, do you watch any movies at all? Or, talking about stuff like that. They're all jokes I've heard before. And while this is only the second episode without Tony, so maybe it's a transitional phase, it still feels like there should be different stuff. There should be new jokes in the show now. I don't feel like there is. I don't feel like there are any new material for me. That is one thing. I will not say that Bones has been any good for the past 2 seasons, but after Sweets was off the show and they brought in a new FBI agent, if you don't know Bones, obviously you're not going to know exactly what I'm talking about, but pretty much they brought in a new character to replace an old character, and the new character brought with him new jokes, new material that they could use, because the other character had been there for 7 seasons. So they brought in a new character and it felt new. It felt different. There were different jokes to be made. That's how I should feel here, and I don't. I don't feel like there's anything different. Maybe one or two jokes because Quinn used to be training the probies, for NCIS. They did reference that a couple times, but at the same time, I don't feel like that's anything I haven't heard before. I've heard that reference talking to some side characters that are like in charge or something like that. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me. I enjoyed the episode, but at the same time, the critical side of my brain is thinking, I want to see something fresh. I want to see something different. Even if it doesn't work out as well, I would at least go look at it and be like, they tried. They tried to do something different. Maybe it didn't work, but at least they gave it a go. At least they didn't stay safe. Because you're on your 14th season, you kind of want to capture some attention, and if I feel like I could just go and, I've got like the first 11 seasons of NCIS on DVD, if I feel like I could just go back and watch one of those episodes and get what I saw tonight, that's kind of not a good thing. Maybe I'm alone on that. Maybe other people are just like, hey, at least it's still good. I don't know. But it was what was going through my mind as I'm watching it. All I could think was, I don't feel anything different. I want to see something different. However, the case itself was pretty interesting. It was a bit more of a guess who tonight than it normally is. Most of the time you can kind of look at a situation and be like, oh, well, there's one obvious culprit, or there's one not obvious culprit that's going to end up being the culprit. Tonight, it felt like it kept you guessing, and that is one of the taglines that the episode, like the previews for this episode, brought last week. It said it will keep you guessing until the very end. It did, to be fair. I really didn't know what was going to happen next. It seemed pretty simple at first. Two guys at a high school reunion. One guy's the bully from high school, still picking fights. Picks a fight with the guy who then flips him, which they never really explained why they got into a fight, because we found out later they were co-conspirators. I don't really know what happened there. But anyway, the guy flips him, and all of a sudden the guy who got flipped is dead. At first I was thinking maybe everybody's going to blame this guy that flipped him for killing him, but it didn't really go that route. They found out he'd been poisoned. So it's all of this, who poisoned him. They find out that he's actually a thief. They find out he was working with the guy who flipped him, who then they find out was also working with 3 other people. Then it turns out they were working on a burglary ring that they dreamt up 15 years ago in detention, of all places. And it turns out, after all of this, it feels like they've zeroed in on a suspect. There was this teacher who's talking about the guy and saying, he was a problem kid in class. It looked like, he hit him on the video. Maybe it was him. And then ultimately they find out it was a chemistry teacher that was giving this guy a house to live in. She knew all about it and also had a painting that was worth a lot of money that they'd stolen, which the painting was just kind of thrown in there. I think I missed it because all of a sudden they were talking about some painting that had been stolen. I'm like, wait, when was that talked about? I think I blinked and missed it. They must have really just thrown it in under the radar. But yeah, there was like $1 million or $5 million painting that they had stolen, and they find out that she had it. And I really did like the twist because when they first talked to this old lady, it seems like she can't hear or see very well. And what was really funny about that was that it felt like it was a joke. They knock on the door and they're like, "Oh, hi, we're NCIS agents. We're here to see this guy's room." She's like, "Oh, yes, I'd love some cookies." And it's just like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were the Girl Scout selling cookies again." And it's just like, and yet she's answering all of these questions. I'm like, is this just a joke that they tried to throw in? What? How is she able to hear Bishop say that very soft question, and then McGee, she can't hear anything he said? Is this just supposed to be a joke, a very poorly written joke? No, it turns out that she was just pretending not to hear or see very well. And people didn't question because she seemed like this sweet old lady. People were just like, okay, you know what? She's old, I'll let it be. And it turns out that was the whole thing. It's just all a ruse. I'm like, that's actually really clever. It maybe wasn't handled as well as it could have been, But to make me think that, oh, this is just some throwaway joke that they didn't write very well, and in the end turns out, no, she was just pretending not to hear very well. I'm like, oh, well, now it all makes sense. I liked it. It was a good twist. The case itself was a good mystery. And, the show doesn't always do great mysteries. Sometimes it's fairly obvious. Sometimes it's not as straightforward, but still pretty easy to figure out once you've got most of the clues. Tonight, it took some effort. It actually took some thinking, like, okay, what is going on? They have to work through all the clues. It was a good case, but like I said, nothing really new as far as the characters themselves, as far as the humor. All that felt same old, and I would like to see some new stuff thrown in. I'd like to see some new humor with the new characters. Maybe we'll get that as the season progresses, maybe because it's so early on, we haven't seen any of that humor yet. So hopefully it comes soon, because I would like to see it. It would be awesome. But yeah, as far as this episode goes, I will say it's season 14, and they still managed to crank out these good episodes, these enjoyable episodes. Even though there's nothing different, it's still fun to watch. You still tune in, you have a good laugh at some of the jokes. The case is always interesting to follow and try to figure out who done it the whole time. So, yeah, it's NCIS. What more can I say? There's a reason it's still on after 14 seasons. They do a good job. So I know I harped on it for a while, but I really did like this episode. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Whether you agree or disagree with me as far as what I said about the different jokes goes. Let me know, we can talk about it. Leave a like and subscribe for future NCIS reviews. I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.